I was here yesterday dancing with Eve Ensler, and then getting pumped up by Ellie Sneal, and I thought, does it get any better than this? This is my first NOW conference, and it'll definitely be the first of many. So. When I was 10 in the early 1970s, I really wanted to be an altar girl. I liked the costumes and I liked God. The parish priest said I could not because I was a girl. My mother and sisters and I learned then how much we would need the women's movement to open doors that were closed to us. A few years ago, I had my young son at his pediatrician's office. She's a woman. Then I took him to the dentist, who's also a woman. When he was going to bed that night, he said, "Mommy, can boys be doctors and dentists too?" NOW led the way, opening doors, giving us opportunities, helping to see ourselves as powerful girls and women. Even more, it gave us a voice to express what we wanted, who we were, and what we could do. But we still have a long way to go. Today I'd like to talk for a few minutes about the voice of people we don't hear so often, the voices of older women, of frail older adults, and their caregivers. And I have some slides just to inspire you or whatever. That's my dad. He raised a lot of feminists. Last year, my dad was sick. The lingering effects of cancer treatment landed him in the hospital. My family rallied to be at his side, making sure that one of us was always with him. As a writer, I can work anywhere, so I sat by his bed, fielding emails and writing assignments from my office. I actually enjoyed one afternoon when Dad and I sat with my laptop watching Bruce Springsteen, videos from shows we'd seen over the years. Dad tapped his foot and sang along. I couldn't stay. I was due at my young son's elementary school. And that's my young son. As I rang the school's doorbell, I was struck by this realization. I am one of the statistics about whom I write. Overnight, it seemed, I had joined the sandwich generation, the group of men and women who do double time, caring for aging parents and for their children, young and old. I've also heard that called the mammogram generation, squeezed by both sides. Take your pick. I was flabbergasted. For 15 years, I've written about aging, caregiving, and the end of life. I've talked about the millions of boomers and the havoc we are going to wreak on the healthcare system. I've described our aged parents and the journeys they will face. But until that afternoon, when I was ringing the doorbell, I had never counted myself as one of them. Soon, we will all, one way or another, become one of them. As former First Lady Rosalind Carter has said, there are 4 kinds of people in the world. Those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. I tried to put a different noun in for caregivers to see if that sentence would work no matter what you said. And the only other word I can get to work is people. So give it a try and see if you can fit anything else in. The experience will become nearly universal. Every day, 10,000 boomers turn 65, a flood that will continue for the next 18 years. Fortunately or unfortunately, boomers will live longer and grow sicker, frailer, and older than any other generation in history. I say unfortunately because boomers gave birth to fewer children than their parents did, and so have a smaller pool of people to rely on for caregiving. It will mostly be women who find themselves as caregivers and care recipients. We outlive men. Indeed, those of us who are married to men and become widows will be widowed for an average of 7 years before we die. We often do not have the family caregivers we need. We are 50% more likely to live in a nursing home, and will spend 50% more time there than men do. We are a nation of caregivers. Right now, at any given time, there are some 42 million family caregivers, people who care for a loved one over the age of 50 who is unable to care for herself. There are 20 million sandwich generation caregivers who provide 2.4 billion hours of care each and every year. That's a lot of time. AARP in this amazing report called Valuing the Invaluable, states that the contributions of unpaid caregivers amount to $450 billion annually. If only we could get a fraction of that to pay for lost wages, for the cost of respite care, or retirement security. And who is the average caregiver? Not surprisingly, it's a 49-year-old working woman who provides about 20 hours of care each week to her mother, and she'll do that for about 5 years. Rewarding though she might find this work, she will also find that it taxes her emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially. Family caregivers face more stress and bear more physical and financial strains than their counterparts. Caregiving can have costly and negative effects on caregivers' lives, on their finances, their retirement, their productivity, and their health. It's amazing that any of us are still standing, and yet here we are, millions of us, making life better, easier, or more manageable for the people we love. I want to tell you what caregivers do. In a world in which patients are discharged quicker and sicker, we do it all, from arranging transportation to and from doctor visits to coordinating hospital discharges. When my dad was sent home after his hospitalization, it was up to my mom to manage things like wound care and IV infusions. She's not a doctor. For my squeamish family, those tasks were really difficult. I think she deserves a medal or a few CMEs. Someone in her position might well feel abandoned and isolated, but her experience is not singular, and it is becoming more commonplace. We need to come to realize and understand that this is an issue that will affect each and every one of us. Every woman in this room will experience this phase of life. And it will affect us first when we are caregivers and later when we are care recipients. We can do a lot to make our lives better. I am a writer for the Altarim Institute Center for Elder Care and Advanced Illness. We say our mission is making it safe to grow old. By that we mean that we want to create the systems, policies, and structures, financial and otherwise, that will enable us to experience comfort, safety, and meaning when we reach late old age. While we're working to achieve major social changes, we can all do things as individuals. Just as we fought to create better ways to bring babies into the world, we need to fight to find better ways for people who are leaving it. To do that, we need to insist that things change right now, today, for the people we love. For that to happen, four other things need to happen. First, we need to see aging as a distinct phase of the life course, just as we see pediatrics and obstetrics as a special time of life. Aging is a special time of life. We need care plans that are realistic, honest, and shared. And we need those plans to move across settings with us, to be updated regularly, to be honored and enforced. We need to have these conversations with our doctors, no matter what they call them. Third, we need strategies that enable communities to have a hand in managing their services and monitoring their residents' outcomes. And finally, we need systems that can manage our care from start to finish. We only have a short time. Within a dozen years, the number of old people will skyrocket. If we don't have better arrangements to support caregiving, many of them will effectively be abandoned. And we will be abandoned too when our time comes. For most of our lives, boomers have acted like we were the first ones there. The first to go to school or menstruate or give birth or experience menopause. Our mothers told us otherwise. This time around, it is really the first time a generation will have experienced this. And the boomers will be the first to experience what it means to live with so many aged and frail people. It will be up to them, to us, to find ways to shape and define this unprecedented time. Ringing the elementary school doorbell was a lifetime away from ringing the hospital call bell, and it is all part of the continuum. I am on it, traveling as best I can. Millions of my sisters are on the path too. It falls to us now to learn not only how to survive, but thrive. And we need to start now. Now needs to start now. We have a very long way to go and not much time to get there.